Greetings, Israel, the one-third elect, and also all Gentiles who cleave. Isaiah 14, 1 through 2. All praises to the Father, Yahweh, and his Son, our Redeemer, Yahweh Shai. This is Chariots Swing Low, bringing you another sharing. Today's sharing is entitled, The Firmament, the Sky Dome. Again, today's sharing is entitled, The Firmament, the Sky Dome. Israel, make sure you have pencil and paper, because what we're going to be doing is going over and covering Isaiah 40:22. There's a lot of controversy with that. The heathen saying that means that the earth is a sphere. That is just not true, and we're going to break that today and get down to the truth. So make sure you have a pen and some paper available. We're going to make quick work of it. Matthews 10:26 and Luke 8:17. There's nothing here that will not be revealed. Daniel's 12:4. But you, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. 2 Ezra 6:20. And when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I show these tokens. The books shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. Now, what I want you to do also is pull up the complete Jewish Bible. After that, parentheses, CJB. It's by David H. Stern. And go to Genesis 1 and 6. Genesis 1 and 6, and park that there. Then get out your other King James Bible and meet me at Isaiah 40 and 22, and we're gonna get started. Now, if my voice wanes, it's because I'm lowering the phone down. I'm old schooling. So you see 22, it says, He who sits above the circle of earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshopper. He stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them out like a tent to dwell in. Then go to the right. On 22, the precepts. That's the important part. It says Job 9:8, Psalms 104:2, Isaiah 42:5, Isaiah 44:24, and Jeremiah 10:12, Job 36:29, and Psalms 19 and 4. Now let's go to Job 9 and 8. And it says, He alone spreads out the heaven. He alone spreads out the heavens and treads on the waves of the sea. Now the precepts, look over here at number 8, are very important. It goes to Genesis 1:6. Everything will trace back to Genesis 1:6 is the second day. The next precept is Job 37:18, Psalms 104:2 and 3, and Isaiah 40:22, where we just left off at. Now, let's go to Psalms 19 and 3. And this is the important one, 19 and 1, that is, I apologize. Psalms 19 and 1. The heavens declare the glory of Yahweh, and the firmament shows his handiwork. Now let's look at the precept. That's important. 19 and 1 takes us right back to Isaiah 40 and 22. Now, Romans 1, 9, and 20, we'll get to that later. But notice it says Genesis 1, 6, and 7. The expanse of heaven, the works of what? His hand. So I'm going to fade to black, and we're going to go to Genesis 1 and 6, Israel. Now, in Genesis 1 and 6, remember, in the complete Jewish Bible, it says, Genesis 1:8, he called the dome sky. Okay, in the King James Version, it's going to say, and he called the firmament heaven. They're one and the same. So when you see the word firmament, it means sky. So we're going to start at Genesis 1 and 6. Bear with me, please. And he said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the water, or a dome, if you're reading from the Jewish Bible. And let it divide the waters from the waters. Thus Yahweh made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. Then you go to verse 8 in the King James, it'll say, and Yahweh called the firmament heaven. If you're in the Jewish Bible, it'll say, and he called the dome sky. That is important to understand. Okay? Now, the precepts for that are Job 37 and 18. Also, Jeremiah 10 and 12. 2 Peter 3 and 5. That's verse 6. Verse 7, thus Yahweh made the firmament to divide the waters from the waters which are under the waters from the water above the firmament. You can go to Proverbs 8, 27 through 29, and Psalms 1, 48 and 4. Now, let's go over real quick to the book of Job, and we're going to look at what that says. And I'm going to give you a visual on that. With him you spread out the skies, strong as a metal mirror. Again, Job 8, 37 and 18. With him you spread out the skies, strong as a cast metal mirror. If we look down here at the precepts, it takes you where? Back to Genesis 1 and 6. Also Isaiah 44, 24, and that Job 9, 8. Also Psalms 104 and 2, Isaiah 45, 12, and also it takes you to Zechariah 12 and 1 and Jeremiah 10 and 12. Now, let's go over to Psalms 19 and 1. This is the real important one to pay attention to. Psalms 19 and 1. The heavens declare the glory of Yahweh, and the firmament shows his handiwork. Or, in the Jewish Bible, the dome shows his handiwork. Now, if you look back at Psalms 19 and 1, what is the first precept it's telling you to go to? Is Isaiah 40 and 22, and Genesis 1, 6 and 7. It's the firmament. So it's telling you it's the dome of the sky. Now, what I would like for you also to do is go Google Wernher von Braun. His tombstone. That's Wernher von Braun, who's the head of NASA. Wernher von Braun. I'm fading to black while you do that. Now, if you have those precepts there, which are Isaiah 40, 22, where we started at, Romans 1, 19 through 20, and Genesis 1, 6, 7, which is the firmament, and we just see it's the expanse of heaven, the word. Now, one thing about Yahweh, for we can do nothing against the truth, but for the truth. Now, if you notice on von Braun's tombstone, he has on there Psalms 19 and 1. But if you don't have precepts, you don't get the full picture of what's happening and what's going on. So, if you turn your Bible to Romans 1, and we'll start actually at verse 18. Yahweh's wrath on unrighteousness. Now, For the wrath of Yahweh is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth. Unrighteousness. Because what may be known of Yahweh is manifest in them, for Yahweh has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen. Now, what invisible attributes is he talking about? Well, if you go to the book of Sirach, chapter 43 and 1, it tells you the clear firmament, or the clear dome. And 20, for since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by things are made, even his internal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. And that's referring back to Werner von Braun. Verse 21, because although they knew Yahweh, they did not glorify him as God, nor were thankful, but they became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the incorruptible Yahweh into the image made like incorruptible man and birds, four-footed animals, and creepy things. And what is he talking about? They changed the earth, the way Yahweh made it, to something that they created. Timothy 1, 6 and 20. O Timothy, guard what was committed to you, trust, avoiding the profane and idle babblings and contradiction of what is falsely called science. And what does he mean by that? Well, let's go back to Genesis 6, 1 and 6. He divided the water from the water. So there is water up there. 2nd Israel 6:41. Upon the second day, he made us the spirit of the firmament. The precept is going to take you back to Genesis 1:6. Now, the book of Enoch, chapter 18, tells you about the firmament of heaven. It also speaks of the pillars of heaven. The book of Job, 26:11, tells you about the pillars of heaven tremble. Chapter 33 in the book of Enoch talks about seeing the stars come out of the portals of heaven, or the dome, the firmament. Chapter 43, the secrets of heaven. The book of Jubilees, chapter 2, page 41 through 42. The new complete works of Josephus, chapter 1, page 49, the crystalline firmament. Water above the firmament? Yes. Read 2nd Ezra 4 and 7. The book of Psalms 148 and 4. Psalms 18:11. Jeremiah 10:13. The Lord is enthroned, his dark waters are his canopy. Jeremiah 51:16. Psalms 29:10. The Lord is enthroned upon the floods. The windows of heaven, Jeremiah 7:11. Also Isaiah 24 and 8. He opened the windows. Genesis 8, 1 and 2. He closed the windows. 2nd Ezra 6, 1 through 4. Before the measures of the firmament were named. Yahweh has done all that. Again, Psalms 19 and 1. Werner von Braun. Fiction based on imagined future scientific or technology advances or major social or environmental changes, frequently portraying space which does not exist because you can't get past the firmament or the dome, or time travel and life on other so-called Earths, which they falsely are saying planets exist. Now, there's 3 heavens. That's it. If you go to the book of Revelations 4 and 6, it tells you, I saw in front of the throne a sea of glass. The sea of glass is what? The firmament. And there's water there. Some of it is frozen. Okay? Now, the precept to that, go to the book of 2 Corinthians and 12 and 2, and it tells you the third heaven. So there's 3 heavens. And to get understanding what that is, go back to Revelation and 4:6. Yahweh is sitting there on his throne. He's in the third heaven. If you go to Ezekiel 1, start at verse 22. It tells you about the different firmaments or the domes. It also tells you that there's water there. When the cherubims moved their wings, he heard the sound of rushing water. He also explains that above their heads that there is a sapphire throne, which he's looking up at the floor of Yahweh at the third heaven. He's inside of the second heaven with the angel where the water's at. Now, to prove that, go back to the book of Genesis. And we'll start at let's go to verse number 14. And then Yahweh said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven, or the dome of the sky. And let it divide the day from the night. And let them be for signs and seasons and for days and year. And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven or the dome of the sky. For what? To give light on earth. And it was so. He made 2 great lights. The greater light to rule the day. The lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Now also, if you go to the book of Sirach 43, verse 10, and he tells you the stars are an ornament. They're simply an ornament. And they're in the firmament. The next verse tells you, 1:17 in Genesis. Yahweh set them in the firmament of heaven to give life on earth, or he set them in the dome of the sky. It's clear as day right there. The sun, the stars are in the firmament. Then that's the second heaven where Ezekiel was. Then if you go to verse 20, then Yahweh said, let the waters abound with an abundance of living creatures, and let the birds fly above the earth across the face of the firmament of heaven, or across the dome of the sky. That is the first heaven. The second heaven is where the stars and the sun are, and where the angels are, and the water where Ezekiel were. The third heaven is Revelation 4:6, where his throne is. That's how simple it is. Now, if you go to the Strong Concordance and you pull up the word sky in any verse, it's going to tell you it's H7834 from H7833. And it's going to refer you back to what? Firmament. The firmament. Now, if you go and pull up in the Strong Concordance the word heaven, it's going to be H8064. And it's going to tell you what? The second plural, dual, referring to what? The arch in the sky, which is what? The firmament or the dome. And it also tells you where the celestial bodies revolve, which are what? The sun, the moon, and the stars. They simply revolve in the dome. That's all it is. Then if you go to the book of Job and go to Job 22. 22:14. Thick clouds cover him so he cannot see. And he walks above the circle of heaven. Now, don't get it twisted when it says he cannot see, because Psalms 139:11-12 clearly tell us darkness and light both are the same to Yahweh. The precept, go to Daniel 2, verse 22. So he walks above the circle of heaven. Also, if you go to Psalms, okay, Psalms, and go to verse number 2, okay, and 4. He who sits in heaven shall laugh. the Lord shall hold them in derision. So heaven is simply 3 different layers of the firmament. Well, how do we know that? Well, simply go to Amos, the book of Amos, and go to verse 9:6. He who builds his layers in the sky. The sky is the firmament, or the sky is the dome. We know that from Genesis 1:8. He who builds his layers in the sky and has founded his strata in the earth, who calls for the waters of the sea and who pours them out on the face of the earth. Yahweh is his name. Then go to Exodus, and we're going to wrap this up here. Go to Exodus, and we want to go to verse, 20. Then it'll make sense to you. All praise Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay? Exodus 20, verse 4. And it says, you shall not make for yourself any graven image, any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in earth beneath, or is in the water under the earth. So, therefore, to get us to sin, they made this false image of some ball spinning in some so-called place that doesn't exist by space. But Yahweh said all things would be revealed. Again, all praises to Yahweh by Hashem and his son Yahweh Shai. Chariots swing low. Israel, Shalom.